So what will you do when the darkness comes? It sounded almost poetic. But what will you do when the grid goes down? When there is no electricity? Because that has actually become a real threat. If I had talked about this, I guess, a few months ago, a year ago, or at least before the whole COVID thing and that madness, people would have said, well, that's just a conspiracy theory. That will never happen. Well, of course, we have things like natural disasters that will, in many cases, result in a shut-off of the power grid. Now we have cyber attacks. And unless you've been living under a rock, you will have heard about this by now. Essentially, you have someone shutting off a system. That could be the power grid. It could be the system needed to operate a chain of grocery stores. I think that happened in Sweden just now. And then they demand ransom money to turn the system on again. So this is a real threat. And we can speculate, of course, who are those people, who are those criminals doing that? Are those, just some hackers? Is it, like a foreign country? Is it your own country, your own government? And you can go really deep into that rabbit hole, I guess. I will boil up some water and have some chocolate coffee, and I will ask you to consider subscribing to this channel. It really helps in the algorithm and all that. And yeah, and also if you like this video, consider giving it a like. Okay, now chocolate coffee. Now it's that time of the year when I don't like to light fires out here in the woodland, because it's, everything burns very easily now. And I'm using this forgotten bushcraft trick here. Have you seen this before? Now, when I said no electricity, no access to electricity, what I meant was no access to the electricity provided to you by other people. You can make electricity yourself, of course, and that's what I'm talking about here. There are many ways to do that. It's not difficult. You have solar panels, wind generators, diesel generators, and so on. And I know if you live in a city, in a flat, in an apartment, that might be a little bit difficult. But the harsh truth here is that unless you have the ability to go off-grid, in such a situation, you can be held hostage, right? If you are dependent on electricity provided by other people, essentially you're a potential hostage. And the key is to get out of that situation. But I made notes. You know how it is. When I made notes, it's serious. So our fine friends in the World Economic Forum, they are meeting 2 days from today, the 9th of July, and they will host a meeting, online meeting, about cyber threats. They are calling it the Cyber Polygon. And people are asking themselves, will they be as, shall we say, prophetic as they were when they had the event 201, I think they called it, about a future pandemic. And you know how it is, I will be careful talking about that. People will say, no, this will never happen. If it happens, it will only last for a few hours. And we had a grid down situation here during winter. It was about half a day, and the house got cold really fast. You know, we have a fireplace, so we were okay, but it really makes you think how vulnerable people are if they don't have a fireplace, if they, you know, are totally dependent on the power grid. It's not a good situation. The main thing here, I think, is your mentality. Now, and I've written down this here because let me just illustrate what it will look like and sound like when the power grid goes down. Let me just do that for you in for a few seconds. You see? Darkness. Of course, not during the day, but we are so used to controlling the light conditions around us that we take it for granted. But it's not. We should be more aware of the fact that when it goes dark, it's really dark, okay? If you live in a city or near a city, you don't get to see complete darkness. You only see that when you're some distance away from a populated area, because there's always some electric light in the horizon, and that means there is always some light. It's not completely dark. When I go hiking during the night, especially during winter, the darkness is complete. The only light you have is from your fire and from the stars and the moon, unless you bring a flashlight, of course. So the darkness is something that must be understood and respected. Now, what can you do to prepare for a situation like that? Well, there are simple things, of course, that you can do today. You can go out and buy some batteries for your flashlight, some spare batteries, and lots of them. You can get a good quality flashlight. You can get one of those portable solar panels and buy one that actually works, and that will enable you to charge, if you have sun, to charge the most essential items. But please don't forget that it's very likely that the whole mobile phone network will go down as well, because it relies on electricity. Now, when it comes to going off-grid completely, that's a much bigger project, and it will take some time, and it will cost money, okay? It will probably not be possible to do that if you're right in the middle of a city. That's why I've said before, you know, if you can get out of the city, you really should. You really should. But that's, yeah, I've said that already, so I won't get into that now. But now, if you live somewhere like this, going off-grid it's actually not technically very difficult. It can be done. It will cost some money, as I said, and we are in that process now. It is something you should do if you want to be completely independent and free. As I said, if you are dependent on the power grid, essentially you're a potential hostage. We all are, as long as we are dependent on the power grid. Going off-grid is about freedom. It is about being independent. Let me also say a few words about the mental challenge of being without electricity. Now, lots of people are afraid of the dark. And I blame horror movies and things like that, actually. But the darkness is a strange thing, awkward thing to many people. And we fear what we do not know. And the darkness has, I guess, always been scary to us human beings, since we are not nocturnal animals. But we can train ourselves to be more comfortable with darkness. Going hiking, spending the night out in the woods is the perfect way of training yourself to accept darkness and not be afraid of the darkness. I think we should also be very honest with ourselves when it comes to how crime will skyrocket, I would say, in a grid down situation. It's quite obvious, right? And I would say that, especially if you live in a city, you should be prepared to defend yourself. That's all I want to say about that here in this video. But the best thing, of course, is if you can get out of the city now. Another thing that most people don't think about, actually, is to have a meeting point. A meeting point can be a location that you and your close family or your friends, you all know about that place. Or it can be some coordinates on a map, and you give those coordinates to your family and friends. It's about having somewhere where you can meet if the grid goes down. If you can't get in touch with each other, which you will not be able to do through phone and so on, if the grid goes down. So try to find a good meeting place, somewhere where you can stay for some time without getting into any kind of trouble. Now, I don't know which people you want to share those coordinates with, or that location. For me, it's my close family, of course, and there are some selected friends. But try to do that. Try to have such a place. Try to establish your meeting place for your little group, so that if something happens, you go there. Okay? When something has already happened, you will not be able to reach those people. So obviously you need to establish such a meeting place now. Now, I'm not so stressed about a grid down situation. You know, if it happens, we will be okay. And for most of human history, there hasn't been a power grid at all. And yeah, you know, I feel that, as with most things in life, if you prepare, you will be okay. That should be your mindset, I would say. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to say in this video. And if you're still here, thank you for watching. If you are not already a subscriber, consider subscribing and choose all notifications. There's a bell, and you need to choose all notifications so that YouTube will know that you want to see my videos when I upload new videos. Yeah, that's all for now. Have a wonderful day, and skål, cheers, and yeah, okay, bye.